Daddy, she's nice. Can we keep her? The CEO's daughter on a blind date with a kind waitress. The candlelight flickered across the pristine white tablecloth, its golden glow reflecting off crystal glasses and silver cutlery. The restaurant, La Mer Rouge, was the kind of place where reservations were made weeks in advance, and the price of the wine list alone could pay someone's rent for a month. At a corner table, Ethan Ward sat with the faint stiffness of a man who had faced boardrooms full of investors with ease, but was now entirely out of his element. At 36, he was a founder and CEO of Ward Technologies, a global powerhouse in renewable energy. He could negotiate billion-dollar mergers without breaking a sweat. But blind dates? Those made him wish for a power outage. Across from him sat Isabel, the woman his assistant had insisted was perfect for him. She was beautiful, poised, and everything society would call a catch. Her dark hair gleamed like silk, her manicure was flawless, and her posture screamed composure and self-confidence. If only Ethan could say the same for himself. Because between them, clutching a small stuffed rabbit and sipping apple juice from a fancy glass, sat his 6-year-old daughter, Lila. It wasn't supposed to be that way. His nanny had called in sick at the last minute, and canceling the date had seemed rude. Isabel had assured him it was fine to bring his daughter. "I love kids," she had texted with a heart emoji. But now, an hour into dinner, Ethan had begun to suspect that Isabel's version of loving kids might be theoretical. Lila had been unusually quiet, her big hazel eyes watching Isabel with the solemn curiosity only a child could have. And once the merger closed, Isabel was saying, "I was immediately considered for a partnership. It's exhausting, honestly, 80-hour weeks, but it'll all be worth it when I make senior partner next year." Ethan nodded politely, though his attention had already drifted. He noticed a server walking toward them. A young woman in a simple black uniform, blonde hair tied back in a loose ponytail, eyes bright even under the dim lighting. She carried herself with a quiet grace that somehow outshone the restaurant's luxury. Her name tag read Clara Rivers. "Good evening," she said with a warm, genuine smile. "Can I interest anyone in dessert? We got a chocolate lava cake tonight that's absolutely divine." For the first time that evening, Lila's face lit up. "Can I have that, Daddy? Please." Ethan's lips softened into a smile. "Of course, sweetheart." He glanced at Clara. "One chocolate lava cake for my daughter, please. What do you recommend for the adults?" "The creme brulee is my favorite," Clara said. "But if you like something lighter, the lemon tart is excellent, too." Isabel waved a dismissive hand. "I don't eat dessert. Too many calories." Clara's expression remained professional, but Ethan caught a flicker in her eyes, a momentary sadness, maybe empathy, for people who measured joy in calories and worth in ambition. "Just a lava cake, then," Ethan said, smiling faintly. "Thank you, Clara." As Clara walked away, Lila tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy," she whispered loudly. "She's nice. The pretty waitress lady is really nice." "She is nice," Ethan agreed quietly. "Unlike some people," Lila muttered, shooting Isabel a pointed look. "Lila," Ethan warned softly, mortified. But his daughter wasn't finished. "She didn't even ask my name," Lila said, frowning, "and she talked the whole time about work stuff. The waitress lady asked me about my drawings. She said I was a good artist." Isabel stiffened, setting down her wine glass. "I'm sorry," she said coolly. "I'm not great with children. I don't really spend time around them." "That's okay," Lila said innocently. "You're not very good with grown-ups either." Ethan wanted to sink into the floor. "Lila." But when Clara returned with the dessert, the tension at the table eased a little. She set down the small plate of molten chocolate cake before Lila, who gazed at it like it was treasure. Then came the question. "Are you married?" Lila asked, looking up at Clara with perfect sincerity. Ethan nearly choked on his water. "Lila, sweetheart, that's not a question you ask people." "Why not?" she said, eyes wide with confusion. "Aunt Bella says Daddy needs to find someone nice to marry. And you're nice." Clara blinked, startled. Then she smiled, cheeks pink. "No, I'm not married." "Do you like kids?" Lila pressed. "I love children," Clara said softly. I actually work at a daycare during the day. This is my evening job. 2 jobs. Ethan asked before he could stop himself. 3, actually, Claire admitted with a small, almost apologetic smile. I'm also taking online classes to finish my degree in early childhood education. It's a lot, but it's worth it. Ethan felt something stir inside him, something between admiration and sadness. This woman was working 3 jobs, going to school, still managing to smile at strangers' children. She radiated a quiet resilience that boardroom executives couldn't fake. Across from him, Isabel sighed and checked her phone. I have an early meeting tomorrow. It was nice meeting you, Ethan. Maybe next time without the child. She didn't wait for an answer. She stood, gathered her purse, and left, without even saying goodbye to Lila. The silence that followed was broken only by Lila's content sigh as she took another bite of lava cake. Good, she said simply. I didn't like her anyway. Clara, who had been clearing the plates, laughed softly. Do you have to work much longer? Lila asked her earnestly. Just about another hour, Clara said. Can you sit with us? Please. Ethan shook his head quickly. Lila, Clara's working. She can't. Actually, Clara interrupted with a shy smile, it's a slow night. My manager won't mind if I take a short break. If you don't mind the company. Yes, Lila said, grinning ear to ear. Sit here where the boring lady was sitting. Clara laughed and slid into the now empty chair. For the first time that evening, Ethan felt the tension drain from his shoulders. They talked easily, laughter coming naturally. Clara told funny stories about the kids at the daycare. Like the little boy who declared he was going to marry his teacher because she knew how to tie the best shoes. Lila giggled uncontrollably, chocolate smeared on her lips. Ethan watched them both, warmth blooming in his chest. What are you studying? He asked eventually. Early childhood education, Clara said. I want to be a teacher. It's not a high-paying career, but it feels meaningful. Kids are honest and funny. They remind me how to see the world the way we all should. Lila rested her chin on her hand, eyes wide with admiration. Daddy, can we keep her? Ethan nearly groaned. Lila? Clara burst out laughing. I'm not a puppy, sweetheart. But you're perfect, Lila insisted seriously. You're nice and pretty, and you make Daddy smile. He doesn't smile with the other ladies. Clara's laughter softened. Ethan met her eyes, and something unspoken passed between them. Something real. I'm so sorry, he said, embarrassed but smiling. I like direct, Clara replied softly. It's refreshing. She glanced at her watch and sighed. I should get back to work. But this was lovely. Thank you for brightening my evening. Ethan hesitated, then spoke before he could lose his nerve. Clara, would you maybe consider having coffee with me? Not as a customer and server. Just 2 people getting to know each other? She froze, torn. I don't know if that's a good idea. We're from very different worlds. What if we're not as different as you think? He said quietly. What if we both care about the same things? Kindness, honesty, hard work. What if that's what really matters? And I'll be there too. Lila added helpfully. We're a package deal. Clara laughed, eyes glistening. Okay, she whispered. Coffee sounds nice. Coffee turned into walks in the park, shared dinners, and endless laughter. Ethan found himself showing up at the daycare on his lunch breaks, ostensibly pick up Lila early, but really to watch Clara read stories to a room full of wide-eyed children. He helped her finish her degree, setting up a scholarship anonymously, so she could accept it without feeling indebted. Clara, in turn, gave him something far more valuable, peace. She reminded him that life wasn't about quarterly reports or acquisitions. It was about moments like watching Lila chase bubbles in the park, or hearing Clara's soft laughter echo through his once lonely penthouse. Lila, of course, took full credit. She was my idea. She'd proudly tell anyone who would listen. On a bright spring morning, Ethan walked into the daycare, holding a small velvet box. Clara was kneeling on the floor, surrounded by giggling children, helping them finger paint rainbows. Lila was beside her, happily mixing colors that had no business being together. When she looked up and saw Ethan kneeling too, this time in front of her, Her breath caught. The ring was stunning, yes, but it was Lila's handmade card that made Clara cry. Inside, written in colorful crayon, were the words, "We're keeping you forever." They married quietly, surrounded by children who threw flower petals like confetti. The CEO and the waitress. The billionaire and the woman with 3 jobs. But labels didn't matter anymore. Because sometimes the most extraordinary love stories don't begin with grand gestures or perfect matches. Sometimes they begin with a child's honesty, a waitress's kindness, and a man finally realizing that the richest moments in life aren't built in boardrooms, but around a small table under flickering candlelight, where love first finds its voice.